Welcome back. Some Democrats in Congress have given voice to concerns from their perspective that President Trump has used executive power and used it in such an aggressive way that they have a phrase that they've used over and over: constitutional crisis. The Trump White House rejects that entirely, saying the president is following the Constitution to a T. Robert Costa joins me now. So I know, Robert, this is in the eye of the beholder, and just saying there's a constitutional crisis doesn't mean that there is one. But as you talk to people about this subject, it was hard to find a proper alarm meter setting.
It's a fascinating topic for the early days of the Trump administration, Major. Constitutional crisis is a phrase we have heard throughout the decades in American history, perhaps most recently in 1973, 1974, when President Richard Nixon was pressuring the Justice Department and clashing with the courts. And now Democrats, mostly some traditional Republicans who don't like President Trump, are reviving this term. But who defines it? It's hard to say. Some people right now on the left and in the center are sounding the alarm, saying President Trump's going too far. Others are saying this is just a president using executive power within the bounds of the American presidency. So for CBS Sunday Morning, we decided to sit down with people with different perspectives to try to understand this highly charged phrase and to give some insight into whether we're in this kind of moment or not.
And if the president says, hey, I'm doing it, therefore it's legal, you talk to Jillian Metzger, who is a very well-known law professor at Columbia Law School, about what the guardrails are and what the limits of those guardrails might be. Here's what she said in part.
There's only so much the courts ultimately can do. If you really have an administration that is intent on violating the law, it's going to take not just the courts, it's going to take Congress, it's going to take the states, it's going to take the people standing up and making it clear they're not going to stand for that, for our constitutional order to be preserved.
And of course, Robert, the source of some of this alarm is the efforts to shrink the size of the federal government or the federal workforce and ignore things that Congress has already allocated money for and authorized, which leads people to say, well, is the president trying to ignore the will of Congress or using executive power outside of the traditional understanding of the limits of presidential power? All this is sort of in play right now.
That's exactly right, Major. There is concern among some legal analysts about the power of Congress, or perhaps the lack thereof. They see Congress in recent decades as an institution that is failing in terms of its placement in American constitutional order. Many legal analysts have said Congress needs to be a check on the executive in a significant and frequent way, and they don't see Congress doing that now. Of course, Congress is controlled by Republicans. Many of these Republicans in this current congressional makeup are very much allied with President Trump. And this all comes as the conservative movement has really started to convene around Trump and the idea of an empowered executive in recent years. And you've seen on the Supreme Court, for example, a real push to give the executive more power, most notably with its ruling last year that when it comes to most official acts, presidents are immune from prosecution.
And you talked to Don McGahn, who was White House counsel in the first Trump administration. He's been in the room. He understands President Trump's orientation to these various executive powers. And you asked him, what would you say to people who are a little on the high end of the freak-out scale, if I could say that? Here's what he had to offer.
What's your message to Americans who are feeling whiplash with everything that's happening?
Calm down. That's my message. Calm down. It's a process. It's a lot of paper. It's a lot of executive orders. It's a lot of hype. There's a process in place. People are going to go to court. Courts will sort it out. Congress can help sort it out. We'll see what comes out at the end. But this is how our system works.
The thing I heard there that pricked my ear the most was there's a lot of hype. Like, some of this stuff sounds more all-encompassing than it actually is when you look at what's on the paper.
And McGahn was someone I thought was important to talk to because he wasn't just some conservative voice.
Right.
This was someone who was in the room with President Trump in 2017, 2018, when then President Trump, now again President Trump, was making these nominations to overhaul not only the Supreme Court, but the federal judiciary, and really pushing the courts to the right to allow Trump, now as president once again, as the 47th president, to push the limits of what the presidency can do. And you see that there has been a movement afoot for over a decade now to put Trump in a position now as president of the United States to issue these executive orders and perhaps have them stick. And this is a new moment in American legal history and American political history all at the same time.
And you studied it very carefully. Robert Costa, we'll have you back.
Thank you.
Thanks so much.